Good morning, everyone. It's Thursday, June 15th, day 477 of Putler's illegal war in Ukraine. I wanted to provide you a frontline or an update on Russian war losses in the last 24 hours, and then read you a good news frontline update that someone's been able to share. And gives you some insight into why how delayed the news typically is during an operation like this offensive. Anyways, to get right into it, the frontline losses for the last 24 hours, 580 troops the tribe has spoken for, bringing it to 217,910. No round numbers, I don't think, in this update. No planes, 14 armored personnel carriers, one helicopter, which I did not see in any of the news updates, snippets, that sort of thing. But I'd be curious to see what kind, where that was. But 24 vehicles and fuel tanks broke the 6,500 mark, and 3 cruise missiles, bringing it to 1199. 12 tanks, which is an uptick. That seems to be steadily rising. We've seen as low as 3-4 about a week ago, I think it feels like. And yesterday, I think we were 8 maybe. So more and more tanks are being found, which kind of makes sense, as we believe that a lot of them were entrenched and being used as quasi-artillery emplacements or heavy gun emplacements and not out free roaming. So the Ukrainians are having to hunt them down. 10 artillery, which is actually on the low side, 3 special equipment, 9 UAVs, no ships or boats, 1 MLRS, which is a beautiful thing. I do recall seeing that yesterday. And 1 Kerch bridge, but no additional Kerch bridges. And we're edging our way up to $66 billion in estimated Russian military losses over the war. So this is a frontline update from Kenneth Gregg. I'm going to read this to you because it's very, very insightful and interesting. And this does not, there's 10 little snippets here, documented by Kenneth Runt, which is great. Really appreciate that. And this does not violate operational security, even though it is a frontline update, because they're finally allowed to say something. So today I can finally start providing more information on what is happening around Bakhmut, especially north of the city. My boys, in air quote, in the area have been in contact, and the information I give today has been approved by the military authorities in the respective areas. Around the town of Blahodotne, west of Soledar, there is an active operation going on, the purpose of which is to drive the Russians towards Soledar as quickly as possible. The operation is taking place 3 kilometers behind the official front line. So when you're looking at the deep state map, for example, and you see north of Bakhmut around Soledar, and you see like 250 meters of line movement or none for a couple of days or whatever, trust that line is going to be popped about 3 kilometers back. We are operating with a small force, but the enemy is becoming exhausted and has maintenance problems. The weather has been bad, but in the Bakhmut area, but the ground has dried up and activities have again intensified around Klishchivka and Berdivka. The Russians had a, air quote, minor incident in the Crimea area. They had prepared a traditional Soviet ceremony where they gathered large amounts of men to listen to a pep talk by Akhmat General Delimakhanov, who wanted to arrive with pomp and circumstance. So he came in a convoy of about 20 vehicles. So this is where things are challenging, because yes, in Crimea, which is on the eastern part of Ukraine, there was a large gathering of troops, and yes, they were struck, And yes, it was a traditional Soviet ceremony where they all gathered in a large place. And yes, they were made to wait for a couple of hours. But Delimakhanov is Ramzan Kadyrov's right hand man. And I believe he was lost in the, sorry, injured, struck, whatever, on the southern coast of Ukraine in a separate strike on a Russian military complex where a lot of troops stayed. But anyways, there's a little bit of a mix up one way or the other. This seems to maybe make more sense, but either way, I just wanted to point that out that Delimakhanov has been placed in two different places and injured in both of them. So very well may have happened, and one of them's true. So Delimakhanov wanted to ride with pomp and circumstance. We came in a convoy of about 20 plus vehicles. Our reconnaissance guys noticed this in good time, and when the general was about to start talking, shouting, our missiles came to visit. There was talk of 100 KIA with as many injured. The general situation is still unclear, but the Chechen chief called in his troops and helicopters from Malinka to evacuate. How anyone can be so stupid as to position their troops as lame ducks is beyond me. This is Volodar 2.0. The Avdiivka area, and apparently the actual, not the Chechen, but the Russian general in charge of this area was actually in charge in Volodar. The Avdiivka area is the only front line where the Russians tried an offensive, but in vain. Their troops are wearing down more and more, which can be seen in the lack of intensity of their attacks. In the southern sector, the Russians' line of contact is slowly being eroded, although it is not visible on deep state map. It really happens continuously. Note the deep state map has up to 72 hours delay. And I've noticed that because I thought it was a 48-hour delay, and I was checking for some updates that I knew should be on there yesterday, and they weren't. So I'm really hoping that they show up today. But again, operational security doesn't matter. South of Novodanivka, we have taken back and secured an area of 4 kilometers by 1.5 kilometers. After securing of reclaimed land, we move our troops forward and regroup. Slowly but surely, we are in a position to unleash everything we have. So that basically, I wonder if he's alluding to unleash everything we have. So the estimates that were released a while ago, partly due to that leaked information, and partly, I think some of it was Ukrainian psyops, etc. But we've heard rumors of up to 9 to 12 brigades that had been newly formed brigades that were ready to attack. I can confidently say that if you hear it's 9 to 12, it's more like 12 to 16 on the higher side. The Ukrainians are never going to release the exact number of brigades that they have waiting, that they have lost, that they have in reserves, etc. Based on troop movements and attacks over the last 4 to 5 days, estimates are that the Ukrainians are using 1.5 to 3 brigades in these attacks that we're seeing in some of the villages that are retaken, etc. In my mind, that tells me that there are 11.5 to 13.5 brigades, 10.5 to 12.5 brigades in reserve that have not seen combat, that are ready to pounce on either a predetermined location and or a location of opportunity where some of these probing attacks result in a line break, a full route, and they've got a clear path to, let's say, Mariupol, Melitopol, somewhere, right? Donetsk. So anyways, so they have not, we have not seen the full weight of the Ukrainian attack brigades yet. At Rivnopil in At Rivnapil, the rope tightens. The Russians are attacked with our kamikaze drones. Then to Crimea, where our Legionella and gastroenteritis cases, Legionella and gastroenteritis. So these are diseases of the stomach, have started to appear due to deteriorating water quality. We see this. We see the first epidemics as a result of the dam disaster. Today, I will meet a good friend who is on the Limon front line and find out how they are doing. So there you go. There's a bit of a frontline update. And I gotta say it. Excuse me. Prigozhin today said that Ukrainians are one of the strongest armies in the world. It's a nation known all over the world. We did this. One second. Special operations to transfer Ukraine into our pro-Russian fold. If we make a pro-Russian fold, we need to change the top leadership to kiss the people's butts. What have we done? We came in a bourgeois way, walked with our boots all over the territory, looking for Nazis. We damaged everyone we could. Approached Kyiv, failed and withdrew. We made Ukraine a nation that is known all around the world. As for demilitarization, they had 500 tanks at the beginning of the special operation. Now they have 5,000 tanks. They had 20,000 men to fight. Now they have 400,000 men to fight. So how did we demilitarize it? On the contrary, we have militarized it. Ukrainian army is one of the strongest today. I'm going to start calling him a pro-Ukrainian mill blogger. It's awesome. Anyways, that's a bit of a frontline update for you. Troop losses and a little update from Golum. So have a great day. We'll talk soon. Slava Ukraini.